Hi everybody, how are you this morning? I hope you're doing well. Does anybody remember who we talked about last week? Good, his name is Daniel. Good job. All right, and our heart print this month is that I can live for God. And so this L that you'll find in your packet is a great big letter L, and L is for live, okay? Live for God. So you can color this L and trace these letters, okay, to help us to remember our heart print. That heart print is I can live for God, okay? All right, so last week we learned about Daniel and some of his friends. They have those strange names. Remember, it was Daniel, and then Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. Whew, that's a mouthful, right? Well, we learned last week that these young men were taken from their home. Do any of you remember the name of their new home? Babylon. Their new home was called Babylon. Can you say that with me? Babylon. Good job. Well, these young men were to be trained as helpers, to be helpers to the king of Babylon. Now, the king's name was a really strange name. It was Nebuchadnezzar. Can you say that? Nebuchadnezzar. Whew, that is a big old name. Now, do you remember how many years their training lasted when they went to the king's palace? 3 years, okay? Count to 3 with me. 1, 2, 3. Great job. So they were supposed to live with the king for 3 years, and they were supposed to learn how to work for him, right? They're supposed to learn all about Babylon and those things. Well, Daniel and his friends chose to only drink water and eat vegetables because they knew that the king's food was shared with false gods. Now, do you remember that after how many days? 10 days, they looked to see if Daniel and his friends were getting weak from not eating all the king's meat. But after 10 days, they were actually healthier than all the others. And King Nebuchadnezzar, chose them to be wise men. Okay. Now the Bible tells us that that same king, Nebuchadnezzar, had a dream that he didn't understand. And he called for some of the wise men to explain his dream. But the men had to do so without the king telling them about his dream. So that he wanted them to come and tell them what his dream meant, but he didn't tell them what happened in his dream. That sounds impossible, doesn't it? Well, the wise men couldn't do that, and the king became angry. So he ordered all of the wise men to be killed. Daniel and his friends heard about this, and Daniel asked the king for some time. And he asked Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego to do what? What do you think maybe they did? What does it look like they're doing here? That's right, he asked them to pray. Okay? Their hands are together and their eyes are closed, and that's a good thing to do when you pray. That way you know that you're focusing on God and listening for God, okay? Well, during the middle of the night, God told Daniel what the king's dream was and what it meant. So after Daniel's friends prayed, God told Daniel what the dream meant and all about the dream. Daniel thanked God, and then he went to talk to the king. Now, King Nebuchadnezzar was pleased with Daniel and the special message from God. The king knew that Daniel's God was the one true God. The king made Daniel a ruler over Babylon and the wise men. Daniel made his friends, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, important men in charge of the people. Daniel and his friends made a choice to live for God. They prayed to God and trusted that He would hear them and help them. Now, if you think you can make good choices for God, can you clap your hands 3 times? Great. job. I am so proud of you, and I'm thankful that God is powerful and helpful. He helps us to make good choices to live for Him. All we have to do is ask Him to help us. Now, how did Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego ask God to help Daniel? Do you remember? What did they do? They prayed. Daniel asked them to pray, and they did, and God answered their prayer. Okay, boys and girls, you have a take and talk in your packet, and on the back of your take and talk, it says, Daniel explained the king's dreams to him, which made the king very happy. And that's a coloring page, and you can see Daniel, he came to talk to the king and tell him about his dreams. You also have a page that has some praying hands that you can color and cut out. And then after you color them and you cut them out, or you have a grown-up help you to cut them out, I want you to glue them to this paper. Okay, so you have lots of pages today in your packet. So you're going to glue your praying hands to this paper, and at the top of the paper it says, I can live for God. Okay, that's our heart print. At the bottom I wrote Miss Tiffany because that's my name, but you can write your name on that line down at the bottom. And then I want you to try to think of 3 things that you could pray for. Okay? So see these praying hands? That's to help us to remember to pray for these things. These are the 3 things that I want to pray for right now. For a healthy family and friends. There's lots going on right now, and I want all of my friends and family to stay healthy. For number 2, I put a good, fun VBS because I'm hoping that all of you are getting packets for Vacation Bible School, and I hope that you have fun watching the music and the lessons and doing your crafts and that kind of thing. And at the bottom, number 3, I put a good school year. I'm a teacher, and I want to have a good school year at school at Phil Campbell where I teach, but I also want my kids to have a good school year, and I want all of you to have a good school year too when school's back in session. Okay, if you stay tuned, we'll listen to some music with Anne Marie. Bye.
Hey kiddos, I hope you're having a great week. We're gonna sing the B-I-B-L-E, so get your little Bibles ready. Okay. The B-I-B-L-E, yes, that's the book for me. I stand alone on the Word of God. The B-I-B-L-E, the B-I-B-L-E, yes, that's the book for me. I stand alone on the Word of God. The B-I-B-L-E. Hey, let's sing Grow, Grow, Grow. Read your Bible, pray every day. Pray every day, pray every day. Read your Bible, pray every day. And you'll grow, grow, grow. Get your butterflies ready. If I were a butterfly, I thank you, Lord, for giving me wings. If I were a robin in a tree, I thank you, Lord, that I could sing. If I were a fish in the sea, I wiggle my tail and I giggle with glee. But I just thank you, Father, for making me me. For you gave me a heart and you gave me a smile. You gave me Jesus and you made me your child. And I just thank you, Father, for making me me. If I were an elephant, I thank you, Lord, by raising my trunk. If I were a kangaroo, you know I'd hop right up to you. If I were an octopus, I thank you, Lord, for my fine looks. But I just thank you, Father, for making me me. For you gave me